I'm Conor Bracken. I've been writing with some seriousness for about 20 years, and I mainly write poetry. I also translate poetry, which is generally French language and by writers from outside of France. And lately I've been trying to write a little bit of prose as well. I'm really interested in looking at white masculinity, thinking about it in the domestic space, in connecting that domestic space to the larger geopolitical, international, historical reach. This is partially out of my own upbringing. I grew up moving around a lot under the auspices of the US government, and it was a wonderful experience. But then when I realized why we were where we were, disentangling or really looking at how implicated I was, my family was, our histories are, in the continued spread of some pretty nefarious and unintentionally malevolent, occasionally benign aspects of American foreign policy and how that's part of how we live here and how we live in a way that's very exceptional and requires an insane amount of resources and exploitation. So I look at that in poems, and I'm trying to look at that in some fiction as well.
What are the themes in your poetry?
My most recent and completed project is about fatherhood, white fatherhood, thinking about what it is that I'm offering my children. I have two young kids, 6 and 3. And, upon the birth of the first one and kind of through the raising of the two of them so far, I'm thinking about, what is it that I can give to them? And what is it that was given to me? What from that particular heritage or lineage do I want to pass on? I'm thinking about what my immigrant ancestors sacrificed in order to come to the United States. And a lot of that was sacrificing a cultural identity in order to have better access to a stronger economic identity. But that leaves a certain vacancy between the generations and kind of within as well. So that's something that I've been grappling with. I've been thinking about camouflage also, about passing. Very white passing. I'm very middle of the road white man, but I have Arab heritage, and I'm fortunate in some ways to not be interpolated for that. But I'm thinking about what can I teach my children about how to survive, just generally speaking, to survive in the US, which has always been a very violent place, is becoming a more violent place because of federal policies that denigrate and harm people of color and people in marginalized positions. And how can I help my children to recognize the injustice of that, to resist it, and then also find a way to keep themselves safe? And so camouflage has been both a theme and a kind of formal method that I've been looking at in my work as well.
Would you mind, I know it's the poem you read last night, the first one about the toilet. Mm-hmm. Would you mind reading it?
No, not at all. Ode to the Public Restroom. Because the basket, woven out of rushes or bark, reinforced maybe with leather where the hand will hold or load or brace it. Because it rots in its pocket of earth into earth, the archaeologist will more often lift with a trained, trembling reverence arrowheads and spear points, napped blades and bone handles into the mouths of museum vitrines to dream like fricatives of teeth. But what about the vowels? Open and warm, joining edge to edge so the edges don't scrape, can keep their keenness safe. I think about the zero, dormant in the mind for ages, though it was everywhere, in the open palm, the vacant nest, between each molecule whose little frictions were and are electromagnetism shivering. Millennia, and people stored their goods and selves and fears in dug or stony holes, then out of nowhere someone made a hole in air and wove around it, and there it was, an absence you could carry with you, a void that you could hold. The automatic sensor senses absence so it flushes, freaking out my kids. It's loud, and the beige tile of the airport bathroom cranks the throttle up so we're right inside the engine as it hacks itself to roaring cyclotronic life. It's hard to explain to my kids as one perches, ears covered, on the seat I just wiped half-dried dribbles off of, and the other grabs the grab bar and swings so that his legs swing underneath the pebbly plastic partition, just inches from the sneakers of a person strenuously emptying the last day and a half's worth of mounting discomfort, that there's a reason the flush is so loud. That to ensure the toilet will work for all and many with minimal intervening maintenance, it must apply as aggressively as possible a power washer's pressure to its walls. So no matter the size and consistency, the magnitude of the punishment inflicted on its porcelain composure, it can clear it. There are some violences we have to bear, and isn't it my duty to inform them of what those are and how to bear them? The volume of the toilet, the afterburner hand dryers in lieu of a loop of germ-preserving towel, the halving of the maintenance staff, the slashing of their benefits, the investment of their unmatched pensions into funds that aggregate the value bumps of companies developing bleeding-edge technologies to replace the workers who developed them, in open-plan offices where the ping-pong tables were carted out years ago, and the branded half-zip pullovers had been made into brass rings the sales force competes for in arenas made of spreadsheets, the numbers in their rows and columns of cells as luminous as honey, hunched as monks muttering ruts into a prayer, inmates counting every step they hear and 16 they do not before they push the bed aside and chisel at the wall with a spoon they've beaten sharp. Vonnegut described it as possessed of stink and diseased twilight, humid resonance and vile privacy, but I still love the public restroom, its belief and demonstration that there are ways that we can share with those we do not know and may never see. Glory to the holes dug in the ground, the ceramic tiles fired then mortared in to give your feet two non-slip grids to brace on. Glory to the porta-johns beside the bleachers, sunlight leaking through translucent plastic walls to heat the chemical reek to a thickness. Glory to the banks of stalls and bolted troughs, the squat buildings at trailheads and beaches with their mirrors merely metal trays screwed into thickly painted cinder blocks. Glory to the bathroom behind the gas station you unlock with a key tied to a badminton racket or a whittled bear, the floor somehow both wet and sticky. Glory to the enormous rolls of one-ply big as wheels of Parmesan. Glory to the ammoniac whiff, the tang of 409, the soap dispenser hanging off the wall like a branch half torn from the trunk by a truck, but still, despite its droop, its blonde exposure browning near the joint, ready when the season calls for it, to knuckle up with buds.